The following segment on KROC AM is sponsored and paid for by Meshbesher Spence.
Andrew Davick joins us this morning from Meshbesher Spence.
Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning.
Good to see you again. How's life in the law business?
You know, not too
busy.
bad. Not too bad. It's busy. It's very busy.
There was a survey. I know you're interested in sports, and there was a survey taken about because parents now are a little more fearful of their kids playing football. Yeah, going into youth football, and obviously concussions are the biggest concern.
Absolutely, and I've got a son who's in 5th grade. He's playing RYFA. RYFA, to their credit, does a pretty good job about concussion protocols and making sure the kids are protected. And they talk about the heads-up tackling program that's promoted by the NFL and different things like that. But I think parents are very aware of it, especially in this community with the Mayo Clinic here, who, it's my understanding, has been very instrumental in terms of some of the studies involving concussions in the NFL. I know there are neurologists with the Mayo Clinic that are directly involved with that statistical buildup of information regarding concussions and what does it mean when you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and what does it mean long term for you. And as you probably know, there's been a settlement. I think it's going through the approval process right now in federal court regarding NFL concussions, and now you have the NCAA, and I believe now there's going to be an NHL concussion that that litigation may actually end up in Minnesota and in Minneapolis.
Probably even more concussions in the NHL and NBA than people realize, because you got the hard floor and the hard ice, even with a helmet on in hockey.
Absolutely. I've
into
actually,
the boards is a huge problem.
Right, and I've actually heard that soccer has a lot of concussions. Now, my son doesn't play soccer, but I've heard that, what is it, a header?
Sure.
I'm not a soccer guy, I have to admit, but my understanding is that there's a lot of concussions in soccer as well.
Yeah, and I have a kid at my house who that's his favorite part of the game.
Heading.
The headers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Got to get your noggin in there.
Well, it's fun.
Well, it is.
And, we think about all of us, no matter how active you were when you were a kid, got the wind knocked out of you. You probably had a concussion or two. I can think of two.
I know I did.
Yeah, I did. And so this is what you think, it's what you just grew up with. But now we're starting to understand the ramifications of those concussions.
Absolutely. I think, when we were youth playing sports, there was a little bit more of the rub some dirt on it mentality. Get
Take
up,
a shower.
Get going, take a shower, you'll be fine in the morning. And I think that's changed a lot, and I think parents are more aware of it, and the coaches are, and I know the high school coaches here in Rochester are very aware of it, and it's my understanding, I believe Mayo Clinic provides trainers and physicians for all the sports teams, and especially for the football teams now that football season is kicking off.
So do you have to sign quite the release for your kids to play even youth football anymore?
That's a good question. I don't know in that registration process if there was a release on there. You would think as a lawyer I would have paid attention to whether or not I had signed a release.
Parent.
I would think that as an organization, they'd want to make sure that parents like you understand what's happening here. Yep, sign this release.
Yeah,
right.
There's that possibility of injury.
Absolutely, and like I said, to RYFA's credit, they really focus with the coaches on heads-up tackling and trying to teach kids to do it the right way and try to avoid injuries, and by doing that, they'll cut down on neck injuries and concussions. And
they recommend a specific type of helmet?
Well, there are concussion. Well, I hate to use the term proof helmets, but concussion helmets that provide extra padding support and are supposed to cut down on the amount of concussions that individual kids have while playing the sport. I don't know if all the high school teams do. I know Lourdes High School, all the players have concussion helmets. They were provided a few years ago, and I know that's a nice benefit for those players.
Yeah, it makes a difference when the child is out there playing. You say child, but yeah, when the student is out there playing, and you never know what's going to happen. I know that they will offer, I think that Mayo offers an opportunity on Saturday mornings to go in and get checked out if you are injured on Friday night.
Well, and I know, even like I said, I keep returning to RYFA just because my son's at that age, but I know they are partnering with the Mayo Clinic this year because we had to do, and I'm just an assistant coach, I have fairly limited knowledge of football, so I've got to be careful of how much I'm trying to educate kids about football.
Well, and you don't want to give the game plan away either.
But you don't want to that's exactly right. We've got a scrimmage tonight, assuming the weather holds up. But,
hey, you can play in the rain. That's fun.
But we had to do some concussion testing, some baseline stuff for the kids as part of that program in partnership with the Mayo Clinic. And so credit to Mayo and credit to RYFA for being forward thinking.
That heads down, heads up tackling is interesting because that has come along with the progression of the game and the progression of the equipment that you had a helmet that you could use, basically, then use that part of your body as a tackle. And then they found out, that's not so smart to do.
Well, yeah, you hear about that. I mean, back in the day when they had the leather helmets, whether or not players were leading with their helmet, using it as a weapon. And now you're trying to get kids away from that, and the helmet is protection. It's not to be used as a weapon, keeping your head up so you're avoiding those injuries to your neck and to your head.
Yeah,
I think you should I've often just joked that you should just take away the helmets from sports and everybody would start playing a little bit safer. Because when you've got the helmet that, it keeps your head concussion proof, you're good. Just get in there and mix it up. If you didn't have that, you might watch yourself a little bit better.
Although I'll tell you this, even at fifth grade, it amazes me some of the fifth grade boys that I see who have an absolute disregard for their own body. I mean, they just fly. And whether I'm not
10-year-old kids, you kidding me?
If they took their helmet off, I'm not 100% sure it would change what they would do.
Might change eventually.
It might change eventually.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, somebody needs to get a hold of you at Meshbesher and Spence. What's the best way to do that, Andrew?
Probably the easiest is www.meshbesher.com, or you can always call our office here in Rochester at 507-280-8090.
Excellent. Andrew, have a great week.
You guys have a great weekend.